Whom do you follow? And who is your influencer? You may be one of the hundreds of thousands of followers of impassioned influencers who care more about themselves than your salvation. The Lord be with you. Dear friends and followers of Christ, we influence one another by our words and actions, and we are equally being influenced by others. But an influence could be positive or negative. So some influences, no matter who they come from, neither contribute to our well-being nor the betterment of our society. Within the social media and digital platforms, for instance, anyone with hundreds of thousands or millions of followers could consider themselves as influencers. But even when they do not bring positive changes to those following them or contribute to the common good of the society, some content creators or influencers may still have a good number of enthusiastic followers. It may only take another influencer who is more creative, intelligent, and skillful to unravel the hypocrisy of deceptive influences and to enlighten their followers. As believers, our way of living and acting are greatly influenced by religious leaders. Religious characters, the prophets or divine messengers, are powerful influences. But what happens when the words and actions of religious leaders do not give rise to true worship or righteousness? God, who is over and above human influence, sends his messengers and influencers to speak truth to the power of every religious leader or influencer who misleads his people. At a time when religious leaders were not passionate about their duties, God sent his messenger, Malachi, to influence especially the priests who slacked in their religious duties. The Lord said, "And now, priests, this commandment is for you. If you do not listen, and if you do not take to heart, giving honor to my name, says the Lord of hosts, I will send a curse upon you, and your blessing I will curse. For a priest's lips preserve knowledge, and instruction is to be sought from his mouth, because he is the messenger of the Lord of hosts. But you have turned aside from the way and have caused many to stumble by your instruction, says the Lord of hosts." Malachi 2, 1-2, 7-8. Our supreme God, full of power, truth, and authority, is the standard for everyone whom he calls to participate in the divine economy. In today's way of speaking, we may say that God speaks truth to the powers of this world. He sends his prophet to confront anyone who makes themselves more important than who God has called them to be. The primary social function of a religious society is to speak the truth to power, says Bayard Rustin. Speaking truth to power is an instrument of transformation. To speak truth to power is to stand up for what is right, even when it is dangerous to do so. It is about having the courage to call out the hypocrisy and the burdens that are placed on the weak and the vulnerable people of God. And to truly speak truth to power, we must have the courage and the integrity to be honest with ourselves. We must be willing to face the consequences of our actions and to take responsibility for our words. Only a few influencers could be willing to stand up for what is right, even when it is difficult, or even if it means facing opposition. Of course, time and time again, those who speak the truth to power would face retribution and persecution. But it is through such challenges that we experience true freedom and peace. With human frailties, it is quite possible for religious leaders to slack in zeal or lose their passion for true discipleship. But the Lord wants his sons and daughters, all his children, to be faithful disciples and authentic influences. And God does not relent in calling us back to order when we drift away from his ways. St. Paul was a good influencer to the Thessalonians and the entire Christian community. Instead of putting a burden on them, he toiled night and day, and with much affection, he proclaimed the good news of salvation. Jesus is the ultimate influencer. He is not just a messenger of God. He is the Emmanuel, God with us. His redemptive influence surpasses the oppressive influence of the scribes and the Pharisees. With power and authority, Jesus speaks the truth to the power of this world. In Jesus Christ, human influence must succumb to divine influence. Therefore, while we have human influences inspired by God, Jesus is the ultimate influencer of influencers, the instrument of change and abundant life. Dear followers of Christ, there is not much difference between the biblical times and the world of today. We still carry the burden of impassioned religious characters, but by virtue of our baptism, we are equipped with the fortitude to stand up, speak out, denounce with persuasion, and draw attention to what must change for the betterment of humanity. You are a priest, a prophet, a king, and God wants you to be a spirit-filled influencer with divine knowledge and instruction. And when you slack in your duties of discipleship, the Lord sends his messengers to speak to you that you may serve him with upright heart. So, we must listen to divine influences who speak truth to power regarding the persistent oppression, violence, injustice, corruption, or discrimination in the church and in the civil society. Perhaps our faith communities are run by disillusioned influencers who have lost their leadership and moral compass. Whom do you follow, and who is your influencer? You may be one of the hundreds of thousands of followers of impassioned influencers who care more about themselves than your salvation. You may be overburdened by the yoke of legal observances and acts of righteousness. It's time you examined how much you have grown or changed for better or for worse through those you follow. Jesus Christ is our ultimate influencer. Unfollow every disillusioned influencer and follow Jesus, the influencer of influencers, who says, "Come to me, all you who labor and are burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am meek and humble of heart, and you will find rest for yourselves. For my yoke is easy and my burden light. God bless you.